Hello and welcome to another episode of Money Talks, Make Money Work for You. This is me, HJG White from eToro, and today I'm just going to walk you through how to take in all the information on an eToro stock page. So let's just jump straight into it. So again, we are here on my virtual page, on my virtual portfolio, and what we're going to do, we're going to go to a stock. Let's go to a classic, Apple. So we're going to click on the stock and we're going to go to the page, and what we want to know is, can we use the information accessible in these tabs to determine whether it's a buy? Now you can get more information elsewhere that can really help you hone in on whether a purchase is good or not, and you can't really just use this information. What this information does is help you indicate whether something is overpriced, whether something is more technical than you are capable of analysing. So if you go into stats, and first of all, you're going to just see some really basic information. Now, the reason this overview information here is not because it's to confuse you. This is real information that big institutions use. It's simplified and laid really clearly for you here. Now, one of my favorites is here, price to earnings ratio, and Apple has a price to earnings ratio of 21. Now, what that means is at their current price to their current earnings, in 21 years, they will make their money back. Now, for a company like Apple, that's actually quite good relative to what the PE ratio usually is. That's quite good. I prefer something lower, generally speaking, and that's not because Apple aren't going to do absolutely amazingly, but it's because that's just the stocks that I feel comfortable in are priced at around a 10 PE ratio. I don't like having to factor in growth. I don't feel very comfortable trying to predict what will happen in the future in that regard. I'd rather what happened in the past is set to repeat itself. So PE ratio is a bit high, revenue is 386 billion, which is hard to comprehend, and then you got the market cap here. So this is all the useful information. Now this tab here is the chart, and I don't generally I think it's kind of useless looking at like something like people go, oh, this is heading down here and stuff like that. What I look for in the chart is whether the stock goes up long term, and this is the indicator for me whether they're good at compounding growth. And actually also something that's interesting to see, I try and help contextualize. So if there's a dip here and it feels big, well, what I do is I take out the most recent growth and I compare it to the past. And actually, once you do that, you realize that Apple actually went from 134 to 55. So they dropped to a third almost the price back in 2020 nonetheless. So this is, oh my God, it's quite hard to comprehend that in 2020 you could have bought Apple for $55 US. So that's what I like to see. It makes you realize that this here, the dip by comparison, is very small to what happened just 2 years ago. That's all I use graphs for. I don't go into technicals. I don't believe in them, but at the same time, some people have seemed to have gotten very good success on it. So I'm not knocking it, but I don't believe in it personally. Research, this is another tab I don't really use. That's obviously nice to see, and this I just like to get market sentiment from the banks. If I see that one bank is shorting it or multiple banks are, I try and understand their reasoning, because if I disagree with the banks on their theory as to why it's shorted, that means that it's a really great position for me to hold. But I don't really use this tab very much. News, I like this tab, but I'll always use Google News. So if there's a sharp movement in the stock, I'll go to the news tab to see if there's any reason that there's been a sharp movement. Now, going back to the stats page, the most useful page, a good thing to see, you can toggle from quarterly to yearly earnings. So turning off quarterly puts on the yearly. I don't know why that it doesn't then say yearly here. I think that's a bit of bad UI design. But yeah, toggling that off puts it in the yearly, and usually you want to see steady, both these bars going up over time. I personally, my most important graph is the cash flow sheet, and actually you see Apple has had a steady, a little dip in its recent cash flows. Again, there could be a reason for this. You'd have to go into their financial reports, but on a clear visual, just at a gaze, that's not what you want to see. Like, you want to see cash flow and net change in cash going up. And also, I think a good thing to look at is their total debt to equity. So 178 in this day and age isn't that bad. But it's really lovely when you see them having a super low debt to equity. That just indicates that they'll never default. Even in times of low cash that we might be heading into, they'll never default. The main thing that I'd look for here is this button here. I think it's brilliant that eToro allow you to link to the investor page of your stock. And generally speaking, financial reports are really good on companies. So this is something really worth going into, digging into. You get to look at their SEC filings. These are heavily regulated filings, so this is legally there are big consequences if they lie on a 10Q. So 10Q is just a format for SEC, the filings with the regulator in America. So 10Q just is some sort of abbreviation, and same for 10K. That's just a different type of financial regulations. You can click on these, the 10Qs. There you have it. You've got all their financial information here that they filed in their most recent quarter. So yeah, that's a really good button. Takes you that, and then it's also good to see what innovations, what they're actually building as a company. And it's different for every company where they publish this and how they publish this. Apple, you'd probably just want to watch their launch events. They're very flashy, but they'll tell you everything that they're launching. And if you believe in those products, then it's probably good to invest in them. But you just want to be wary that sometimes these big companies can be overpriced. So this is just useful information. I would say that if you see a PE ratio of 10 and you love the business, you can see them growing in the future, then that's a really good sign for me. But that number can be manipulated by other things, and as we'll get into in future episodes, there are ways to work out to mitigate those risks of that number being manipulated. But this is a good way to just get started in the early days of investing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much, and please like and subscribe. If you have any more questions about how to use eToro, then please leave a comment in the description. Alright, wait a minute, leave a comment below. Great, thanks guys, bye.